Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Project Ozone 3. I know what you're thinking. Did I mess up the intro? Did I mess up the title of this video? No, I just loaded the wrong world, so yeah. Hi, I'll be right back. Yes, we have finally made it. So hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Project Ozone 3. How are you doing? How's life? Good? Did you miss me? Of course not. So why are we starting today's episode on the moon? Well, there is a good reason for it. As you guys know, there is a mod, whose name I shall not mention, and I'm not a fan of. Can you guess which mod it is? So I was hoping to make this mod a little bit more interesting for me, and I'm looking for fallen meteors while I'm talking. So how am I planning to do that? Well, I was hoping that we are going to have cold fusion through a fusion reactor, but instead of using DT fuel, we are going to use helium-3. That's the way that mankind is hoping to achieve this, so it might make it more interesting. Anyway, how do we get helium-3? The way that we get helium-3 is from moon turf. This is why we're at the moon. If we put it inside a fluid extractor, it will give us gravel, which is very important. No, it will give us helium-3, and we can burn it inside a fusion reactor together with deuterium, which is easy to obtain, and we can hopefully run a fusion reactor. So this is why we're going to have a moon base. Before going through the process of excavating the moon for moon turf, which is the easiest part because we just need a builder's block from RF tools and then we just strip the moon. That's it. We need to make a base. And we need to go through some concepts, and one of the most important concepts is that how are we going to get oxygen? In Galactic Craft there are two ways to get oxygen through the oxygen compressor, and one of them is that we use crops, and whenever a wheat plant, goes through its life cycle, we get a little bit of oxygen. In the past, whenever you used leaves, which is the second method, the oxygen compressor used to consume the leaves, and it was not a renewable resource. So this is why people used crops. I realized that in this version that option has been disabled, so it does not consume the leaves. We are missing a few leaves here, but there was a meteor, so I'm guessing we lost the leaves to the meteor. But I think in order to make oxygen, we're just gonna use leaves, because they even look cool. Everything looks nicer with leaves. Also, I'm not sure which blocks I'm going to use in order to make the base, but I think we are going to go with the Galactic Craft ones, because they go well with the moon environment thingy. Also, I wanted to have these windows because they look really cool. They're also from Galactic Craft, and I also want to make use of these hallways in order to distribute oxygen throughout the base. They have pipes underneath and they look really cool. There's also an airlock and it's awesome. Look. And it closes. It's so good. Amazing. I love this. Also, in order to go back and forth between our moon base and the overworld base, we are going to use this portal frame from Portality mod. It looks really cool. You can transfer energy, items, and even yourself through these portals, and I want to use them, just for fun. We do have the dislocator, but this looks cool. This also looks cool. Well, it's not a complete base, but it's a start of a base. But in any case, it might look like that I have built a lot, and I did spend a lot of time, but basically whatever it is, it's just a corridor, which leads to another corridor, which leads nowhere, and rumors, yes, which leads to another elevator shaft and to a small area which we will process helium-3. And the fun part is that the oxygen collectors that I have is actually enough in order to supply the entire place with oxygen, so we don't need to wear these oxygen tanks inside. Do we? Actually? What will happen if I go... Okay. Let me in. Yes. We have oxygen inside. That is good. Also, I forgot to mention that the reason that we have this unfinished corridor is that I was thinking that we should be able to bring our applied energistics auto-crafting system here, because I don't have enough space in the overworld, and I'm not wearing these. And I thought, well, it's the moon. There's plenty of space. So I guess the question is, how fast does this guy work? Well, with a stack of upgrades, this is how fast it's working. And it's not the best, but it's okay. We can have more. So I was thinking that on this side we will have a dynamic tank from mechanism and a few fluid extractors so that we can process and store helium-3. Since we are going to need two types of fuel for the fusion reactor, I was thinking that on this side we will process deuterium. I checked and it seems that in order to make deuterium from the same mod, it's better to use heavy water from mechanism because that will give us 950 millibuckets of deuterium. If we use water, that's only 50 millibuckets. So heavy water is much better. So we need to use mechanism pumps, and the main question is, can we have water on the moon? I highly doubt that. Your water? On the moon? I can have a pond? Really? Okay, that's nice. That's very nice. It's nighttime at the moon and mobs have spawned. And this is what I have to put up with. Constant firing. Anyway, I did manage to set up the fluid extractors. We just need to also set up the RF tools quarry. How did you spawn? Anyway, we need to provide them with power, we need to upgrade them, and we need to provide them with moon turf through an RF tools quarry. But that's basically the setup. So we are getting helium-3 and I ran out of moon turf. I still have not set up the RF tools builder, but now we need to also start making deuterium. You don't have a color? That's bad. Okay. That's actually really bad because I was hoping that there would be something here, which is visible. I thought I'd bring you guys in order to set up the builder from RF tools so that we can start mining the moon for moon turf. I wanted to hide this operation by having some excavators and pretend that we're actually excavating the moon turf, but we already did that in the overworld and I didn't think it's a good idea. I also had the thought that, okay, we can have an orbital station and mine the moon using a giant laser. But in reality, helium-3 will be found on the surface of the moon, so having a giant laser would not make sense. Anyway, let's set this guy up. I have already made a quarry card and I think the dimensions should be good. So let's try this. We put you in and show me the hologram. That's too high up. Or am I in it? Actually, it was correct because this is a 256 by 256 box, which is 30 layers thick. And the moon turf is only one layer, so yeah, I think this size should be good enough. I also brought a filter so that we can only mine the moon turf. So, do I have a sample? Yes. And you should be whitelisted. Yes, that is true. You go into Entangler Porter, an Ender Chest, and a Chunk Loader. So you should start working. You're gathering garbage. Stop. I'm slightly confused because I do have a filter in the builder which specifies that, hey dude, only mine moon turf. But for some reason we're also getting moon dirt and moon rock, which is weird. In any case, I hooked it up to a trash can and I set up filter so that we get rid of extra items. And it is working, so probably I should not complain that much. Yeah, it's functioning. Alright guys, let's do a small recap. So, our ender chest is hooked up to our RF tools quarry, which is providing us with moon turf. Moon turf goes inside these fluid extractors and it will give us gravel and helium-3. We are storing the helium-3 inside this dynamic tank, which is one of the fuels that we are going to need in order to run a fusion reactor. The second fuel that I'm producing is deuterium because it was literally the easiest one. The way I'm doing it is that I do have some pumps from mechanism with filter upgrades. They will convert water into heavy water, which goes through an ender tank and goes to these electrolyzers. We will get tritium, deuterium, and a little bit of oxygen. I'm voiding tritium and the oxygen, and we're keeping the deuterium, which goes inside this dynamic tank. So we have both the fuels. Now we need the reactor. So something fun, we don't have oxygen left, almost, and my oxygen compressor is next to those leaves, outside. You know, I just remembered that I have a shulker box full of oxygen tanks and we just take it inside, just in case. I was working on the fusion reactor, then suddenly I heard a very loud noise and I was like, okay, what happened? We were hit by a meteor, literally in the face. And for some reason I was not prepared for this and I wasn't even thinking of it. I should have, because if you look around, there's a meteor like, I don't know, it's falling down every 5 minutes, and we were bound to be hit. Not by an arrow, by a meteor. So we need to have some sort of a force field protecting us, otherwise this reactor is not going to survive. Huh. I made a shield projector tier 4 from RF Tools, and this can support almost 33,000 blocks of shield. And I thought we can just cover ourselves in a dome. The problem is I don't like it when it forms like this, so I was thinking that we make a wall, maybe 5 or 6 blocks tall, and then make the dome on top. And that way we should be able to also make the perimeter a little bit bigger, because this is just weird. We come out of the base and then we run into a wall. We need much more space. So let's make a wall first and then the shield on top. Sounds like a plan. This is a diameter of 151 blocks, and I think the height of the wall is also okay. There are differences in elevation, but there's nothing I can do about it. We're going to make it out of cobblestone because I don't have any blocks. Later on we'll switch it. So get active. Where did you start? Ah, good. And it's done. Good. Later I will switch it with the same blocks as these ones, and we try to decorate the wall, otherwise it looks really ugly. Now we need to make the dome. And this is the shape of the dome. It is going to consume 40,000 of these blocks, which is like 10,000 more than what we are allowed to have. But the thing is, it's also taking into consideration these blocks, the ones at the bottom, and well, I have to remove them manually later on. But for now, I think the easiest solution is to just make them using an energy condenser. So, let us get started. Are you starting? It's going to be laggy. Oh, yeah. Well, apparently this is the final shape of our shield. I wanted to make a dome, but the problem with a dome is that these shield templates, they have to be connected in order to function. And whenever you want to make a dome, you end up with these things, and they don't connect. Especially on these sides, which are like this. And, well, the shield would not form, so I had to make it look like an umbrella. Maybe we will put something in the middle, a column or something, so that it would seem that it's coming out of this building, but there, that's a project for maybe later. The good news is, it's keeping out the meteors. So I'm happy. Very happy. Now that the main issue has been solved, let's get back to the main task at hand, which is starting up the reactor. So, we do have a tier 4 reactor, which is full of helium and deuterium. I did not go for the biggest size because I basically just want a reactor that functions. I don't care for power. I do have a comparator which will turn off the reactor based on its efficiency, and I do have a lever to turn it on and off. I do have a power monitor which is hooked up to capacitor banks and will turn off the reactor whenever the capacitor banks get full. And this is a fairly big capacitor bank. It can hold 29 billion RF, and I always wanted to have one of these. They are super expensive, but now that we have EMC, I was like, yeah, why not? And I was also lazy to make an induction matrix, so a meteor. Again. Anyway, it does hold almost 29 billion RF, and yeah, that's basically the setup. So let me get a quantum entangler porter and we should be able to turn it on. Oh, and by the way, the meteor is there. So we were okay. The shield works. So we put you here and we connect you. You're connected? Okay, so this should reach... It's on. Fine. Well, I did kickstart the reactor, and I think we are generating somewhere around 160,000 RF. Of course, the reactor is not hot enough, so we have to wait for the temperature to rise. I really want to see how much it will produce at maximum efficiency, and we don't need to. So this guy is generating 17 million RF, which is awesome, and I ran out of potions. Anyway, I think if we would have gone with a tier 5, this would have reached 30 million, but the thing is, I was not sure if we have enough fuel. With this, I can sustain it. And I'm also voiding the energy because this capacitor bank got full in like 2 minutes. I also increased the size, but 40 billion is apparently nothing. They used to be awesome in 1.7, but right now they're like garbage. Anyway, It reaches almost 17 million, so I'm happy. Another good thing is that whenever the capacitor bank gets full, which is right now, the power monitor will send a redstone signal and it will turn off the reactor so that we don't waste fuel and this thing does not blow up. Now that everything is functioning, I think our job here on the moon is done and we can go back to the overworld. The thing is, later on I have to come back here, we need to expand the base so that we will have auto crafting, and I also need to clean up the mess. But for now, let's go back to the overworld because there is something that I want to see if we can make, and that is chaos shards. You will not believe how much I missed this place. I hate the moon. Anyway, our plan for now is to start making liquid chaos, and the reason for that is that if we put it inside the crystallizer, it will give us a large chaos fragment, and 9 of those will give us a chaos shard. So we don't have to fight the chaos guardian in order to get chaos shard and in order to make the infinity armor, which is a good thing. But the problem is, in order to make liquid chaos, we are going to need a machine which is called the Magica Converter, and it's a pain to craft this guy. And we are going to need a bunch of ingredients. Luckily, 3 of them have EMC, so we can already make them. Awakened Draconium does not, but I think we had a system for Awakened Draconium down here. Maybe? Possibly? I think yes. AWAC. So you will work, right? It's too dark. Yeah, I can see them. Well, that's fine. And I was thinking that we put the machine inside this island, because this one is almost empty. We just have the graveyard on the other side and the machine should fit. I hope. This guy is not only big, but it's also going to need a lot of garbage. And we don't have some of this stuff, but I should be able to craft them. Another thing that I noticed is that it says that it's going to need mana outputs and also ember outputs. So this guy will take the ingredients, give us liquid chaos, and also give us embers and mana. And if the outputs get full, I guess it will stop working? I'm not sure. I could get rid of the mana, that's not going to be difficult, but how would you get rid of the embers? And it's 500 embers. Maybe we should be able to make one of those ember capacitor bank thingies, but I think they hold 5000. So that's like, I don't know, 10 times? That's nothing. In any case, this is all the garbage we're going to need in order to make the magical converter, and luckily every single item had EMC, so I basically had to go through the items in my transmutation tablet. Anyway, we need to assemble this guy, and that's the boring part. So this is layer 1, then this is layer 2. I'll be right back. One of the reasons that I'm not a fan of these machines is that if you make a mistake, you don't know where you made the mistake. Yes, of course the structure is wrong, because I'm left with 4 cryotium coolers and I counted them, so we're missing a few, I guess. I also ran out of gearboxes, so yeah. Let me see where I made the mistake. Yes, apparently I missed a cryotium block on the bottom layer, so you should be complete if I manage to get out. The problem is now I have 4 extra blocks of crystal, so this might not work. Of course not. Oh, I broke this. You? Will you? Please? Yes, yes! It is functioning, we just need to provide it with items. This guy did not have an RF input, so I'm guessing that it should work without power. I put the ingredients inside, and you should start making something. That's fast. Liquid chaos, good. Now we need to find a way to get rid of the embers and the mana. How would you get it out? Okay, so we do have a small problem. The machine is working and we have half a bucket of liquid chaos, which is okay because we do have a creative tank and we can just put it inside and have all the crystals that we want. The problem is I don't want to use a creative tank, at least not yet. The problem with this machine is that when the output hatches of embers and mana get full, it will stop functioning. So these things have ingredients, but the machine is not functioning anymore. So we need to get rid of the mana and get rid of the embers. The mana is the easiest part because we just need a mana spreader, a couple of mana pools, and I guess, I don't know, maybe a recessive augment, and we're good to go. For the embers, it's a different story. Yes, I had to wait for the blood moon to be finished. But anyway, I was going to say that we need to get rid of the embers and, well, we need to store it somehow. If we use a copper cell, the capacity on this guy is only 24,000 embers, which is not going to be enough because every time that machine runs, it makes like 500 embers. So I was thinking that we use a crystal cell because once fully upgraded, I think these guys can hold 1.4 million embers or something. Well, we need to upgrade it, but the basic version can hold 64,000. Okay, I guess let's do that. Don't mind the mess and the cobblestone. I was just trying to draw a layout for this room and see where everything goes. So let us try and set up one of these crystal cells. So we are going to need a mechanical core. So I think this should go here. And then you should go on top so that we will have access. Yes, now we need to feed this guy embers so that it will get upgraded and hold more ember. And I have brought a chest, so you go here. In order to upgrade the crystal cell, we are going to need to feed it ember shards. And the way I remember it, in order to fully upgrade it, we are going to need 5 stacks and 24 of these small ones. So if I flick the lever, you should get upgraded. Yes, the number is going up. It has consumed all the ember shards and now it can hold 1.4 million embers. The problem is I wanted to see this crystal because it will grow as you feed it embers, and at this height it won't be visible. So we have to go 1 block lower. I just wasted embers. I made 2 of these crystal cells and I also decided to make an ember splitter, a beam splitter, because we only get 1 beam from the machine, and with this device we can split it into 2 so that it will go to both of these cells. I'm always confused how this works. So you shift right click and right click. Okay, this one as well, and you as well. Oh, you need a lever. Here. There you go. Yes, it's working. So you should produce more liquid chaos. No. Oh, the mana. We put the mana spreader there, we put the mana pool on top, and now you're producing liquid? No. Why? You know, in order to fix the machine, I'm going to do the only thing I know in IT. We're going to turn it off and on again. So I ran into a problem, which is a very stupid problem, but I'll try to explain. Every time the machine runs, we are generating 10 millibuckets of chaos fluid and 500 embers. We need to empty that embers as soon as possible, because if the buffers get full, then the machine will stop working. We are doing that using this setup, but the problem is the speed that we're extracting the embers. It's 10 with each burst. And for 2 devices, that's like 20. And if I copy the same setup over there, that's going to be like 40 embers per burst, which is very slow. So the machine will be offline like 90% of the time. But I did notice something. If we break these guys, like so, and put it back, and put the dial back, now this guy is empty. So we should be able to cheat. So the idea is that we are going to break the output hatches so that the embers and the mana will be empty. And the way that I want to cheat is that let's pretend this copper cell is the output hatch, and we are going to need a phantom breaker from Actually Additions. The phantom placer does not have a recipe, so I guess it's disabled. And then we're going to hook you up to you, and you're on pulse mode, so if I put a button here, he will break it. And now we need to place it back. So we are going to put a block placer like so, and you're going to need power. So uranium RTG, good, it's getting power, and we just need to hook you up like so, and a servo. So you should work, right? Yes, it does work. We just need to set up a timer. Maybe a minute, 2 minutes, I don't know. So basically, this is the system. I do have a uranium RTG because I don't think these guys will consume that much RF, and I do have 2 phantom breakers, and they are hooked up to the output hatches. So now the output hatches are full. This is why we're not generating any more liquid chaos, and if we break it, it should start all over again. Let's check. Yes, it's functioning. Good, we need to set a timer though. I don't know, maybe 45 seconds or so? Because this works really fast. Haha, so finally, my stupid solution works. We have to break the output hatches every 20 seconds, but it does work. And we are getting chaos fluid at a very good rate. Did we run out of something? Yes, awakened draconium, and it does not grow on trees. We have to spawn mobs and it's a grind. But in any case, the chaos fluid goes inside that ender tank and comes through here and goes inside this crystallizer, and we get large chaos fragments. If we combine 9 of these, we will get a chaos shard. The only thing remaining is that I have to copy the same design over here because I like those crystals and I think it will make the room look nice and will make this place look less miserable. I'll do that and I'll be right back. Well, I did clean up the room and I think it looks decent enough. We have 4 of these crystals and none of them are hooked up to the machine. The reason for that is that once we break the outputs, we don't actually need to save on embers. Also, embers has EMC and we can also make the creative ember source. So there's no point of actually keeping embers. Anyway, I hid all the piping and the only thing that we have to do is to provide this machine with awakened draconium blocks. And then it will function indefinitely. Well, as long as it has awakened draconium. Anyway, now that we have chaos shards, I want to make solar panels. I'll be right back. Oh, and I forgot to mention that the way that we are generating RF in this space is through solar panels. We are going green. Anyway, sometimes I was lazy, so they're just on top of buildings, but the main base power actually comes from this draconic energy core, which is here. And how much do we have? 14 trillion, and it is hooked up to 15 solar panels under this formic acid because I thought it looks cool and the formic acid does not stop the sunlight for some reason, and I just want to upgrade all the solar panels to the solar panels of infinity. It's just a bunch of crafting. I have to make a lot of chaotic cores, the chaotic fusion crafting injectors, and it's just crafting. So I'll do that, then I'll be back. So I have a new problem. I have everything I'm going to need in order to craft the solar panels of infinity, except the extreme crafting table, which does not have a crafting recipe. And it has only one use, and that is to make the solar panels. And I think for some reason they forgot to include a recipe for it. I went on Reddit and there was only one answer, that why can't you craft the extreme crafting table, and that was basically he didn't know. So I think maybe it's something that was fixed in the future patches or versions. I'm going to cheat it in because it's not my fault. You should have made it work. And we turn you off. Good. So we can craft. I just wanted to make a very small point. So you guys remember our fusion reactor, right? We are using helium-3 and deuterium in order to generate 17 million RF per tick, which is good. It's nice. But the problem is we're basically cheating with the fuel, because in a normal mod pack you are going to need to use DT fuel inside another fusion reactor in order to get helium-3. In order to get tritium, you are going to need to use deuterium in another fusion reactor, and in order to have mass production of deuterium, you are going to need to use hydrogen in another fusion reactor. So we skipped all those steps, and we're getting helium-3 from the moon and deuterium from heavy water. So we're basically cheating. And this setup should have been much larger. My point is, this entire setup is outmatched by this one block. That's 17 million. That's also 17 million. Just FYI. Alright guys, I think it's also time to wrap up the episode. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed it. Till the next one. Bye bye.